Hello, welcome back to the post-race beer review. This is a shorter version of the episode, just a quick summary of a race that I ran. Today, I went out and ran the Novant Charlotte Marathon, half marathon, 5K, and ruck, I believe. I know there was a ruck category that's going on. The ruck is a half marathon. Well, in this one, it was a half marathon with a 40-pound pack. Um, there was there was about 60 people in that category that started. 71 registered, 61 in that category. The marathon had just under 3,000 people. The half had around 5 or 6,000 people, and the 5K had about 2,000 people, I believe. The race started. I found out about that. This is actually the genesis for this show because I was considering doing this race, and I was reaching out to different running friends of mine, and none of them had ran this race. So I thought to myself, I know people who have ran 3, 4, 500 marathons, and nobody that I'm talking to has ran this race. I didn't know if the race was worth my money, which that's that became the genesis for this show. Was these races that we're doing, are they worth our money? So, because I was looking for a race that fit a certain category, I wanted a marathon that was drivable, that got a new state out of the way, and it needed to be this particular weekend because of I had the week off from work already. So that's that's where I found out about it through runningintheusa.com. I found out about a lot of races through them. They're a very good source for information. I really enjoy giving them a I really enjoy their website. I want to give them a plug. Um, they probably don't know who I am, and that's fine. Just as long as they don't tell me to not share their stuff. So, but either way, they're a pretty cool website. I enjoy them. So, signed up for the race. I forget how much I paid. I want to say it's around 130, 120 or 130. They did have pacers. However, at the time, the pacing was full. Later on, I was offered a slot, but it was a little too fast for my comfort level. So I didn't want to accept that because I didn't know if I could make the time. The the expo was it was nice. They had instant I want to say it was called instant assignment. Basically, there was about 20 places you could go and get your bibs, but you didn't get your bib number until you went up to the person and you said, you showed them your barcode, your 3D barcode, and they pulled out a bib and they said, "Here goes your number." And then somebody slapped a letter on there, A through I believe H. I think I was in the H category or corral. Yes, I was in the H corral, the last corral. So that process was really fast. Getting your bib, getting your bag, your packet pickup, and all that. They did have race day registration. I said race day registration. What I meant to say was race day packet pickup. But you had to prepay for that. I didn't prepay. I just was going to pick it up the day before because I wanted to check out the expo. The expo was okay. I didn't see any other races there, which was really odd for me. Um, Most races I go to, I see especially a race this size. I would expect to see about 10 or 15 other races there, promoting having a little booth promoting their race. But I don't recall any other races being there. So that was held in the Expo Center. Expo Center was real nice. Um, Pretty easy to park at. I found parking on Spot Hero across the street for $10 for several hours. Parked there, went to the expo, went somewhere, got something to eat. Across the street from the expo was the NASCAR Hall of Fame. ended up not going to that. I couldn't decide if I wanted to go or not, and the price was like $30, which was on the fence for whether or not I wanted to go. But I also didn't want to be on my feet all day the day before a marathon. That's just my experience tells me where I'm at right now in my fitness. Don't spend all day on your feet. Don't go walking around for 4 hours at a museum or whatever. So I did go a different museum earlier in the day, on my way down, but it's about an hour and a half away. In Greensboro, North Carolina, the Woolworth's lunch counter where there's 4 gentlemen from North Carolina A&T State who went there and sat and wanted to get served. They were fighting segregation at the time, and uh, that's a different argument. That's a different thing than the what the show normally takes. But I did go to that museum, and that was interesting. But back to the race at hand. The race starts out at 7:30 in the morning, which I enjoyed that part compared to Monumental. Monumental started at 8 a.m. Monumental was a week ago, a week before this episode, before the Charlotte was Monumental in Indianapolis. It started at 8. This race started at 7:30. The race starts out pretty large. There's DJ. There's a nice expo area, or not expo, like welcoming area. There's parking nearby. The race starts the race finishes really like 2 blocks from where the Carolina Panthers, the pro football team, play. And there's a really large parking garage in between the stadium and the finish line. There's working backwards, there's the stadium, a very large parking garage, and then a AAA baseball stadium. So you finish on the other side of the AAA baseball stadium, and then you can basically walk around to the parking garage and get back in your car and leave. I found parking for, I think it was $15. If you showed up on race day and just got a ticket out of there, I think it was $28 for the day. So not that bad of a price. Um, that was really nice. The expo was nice. The starting area was nice. Did the course. I knew from the beginning I was going to be behind the official cutoffs. Mile 1.8 was when I got told to go to the sidewalk, which I was perfectly fine with. I ain't going to argue because I knew that was the deal. So went out with a walk, run, walk strategy, 3:30 run, 30-second walk. Continued that for the first 14 miles, walking the uphills mostly. There was 1,300 feet of elevation for the full. Don't know what the elevation was for the half, but the full was 1,300 elevation gain. I walked most of the uphills because, in my experience and where I'm at in my training, that's what I do. Going through, they had reusable cups, which was different, and apparently the cups, they just gather them up and then ship them back to the company, and they wash them, whatever, and then they send them off to a different race in a different part of the country. And that's what and there were rubber reusable cups, and you could kind of fold them really well and get a good drink of water out of them. They probably held about 6 ounces of water, I would say. So they probably had like 4 or 5 in there because he ain't going to fill them to the brim. I was able to get water for the first half at the aid stations. Once we split off from the half, for the half, I had some friends with me. Really didn't talk to many people. They were just, being on the sidewalk and everything, and most people not doing intervals. I just didn't get a chance to really talk to people, which for people who know me, they know I like to talk, hence why I have a podcast. The second half, I was able to source water from different restaurants. People were outside eating brunch or whatever, and there was a few people still cheering, a few stations still cheering people on, which was nice. So I was able to get water. With that, I did take my Ultra Vest, which holds two, I believe, 18-ounce water bottles. Um, they're in milliliters to be actual, so I forget how many milliliters they are. But I went out with that. Did the I was able to get. I think I refilled uh, 3 times. I refilled at least one bottle. Uh, so I had two to start with, and then I got 3 fills. So it took 5 water bottles, and plus somebody was going back to their car and they had offered a Gatorade to their friend, and their friend didn't want it. So she's like, "Hey, do you want this Gatorade?" I was like, "Yeah." So it was like Arctic Blue, so that's kind of cool. Um, I drank that Gatorade as well, stuck it in my vest. Uh, Went through some really beautiful neighborhoods, some really beautiful areas of town. It was a really beautiful race. Um, Everything was. I can't really speak for the aid stations on the second half, how spaced they were, because I never saw them because I was too far behind. The aid stations for the first half was about fair. It wasn't. It's a little more stretched than I wanted it to be, but it was about fair. They did have a lot of porta potties for the second half or for the first half. If you fall behind the sweeper, though, if you fall behind the sweeper and they've already cleaned the porta potties, they lock them with a padlock, so you're out of luck. But going all the way back to the beginning of the race, at the AAA ballpark, you were allowed to go inside their concourse, the concourse area, and use their bathrooms. So we did have full flush bathrooms at the start of the race, and that was a really nice treat. I really did enjoy that. Second half, go back out. It's a it's kind of out back. It's kind of not. It's kind of like a lollipop-ish type. It's kind of hard to describe it fully. Um, but it was not bad whatsoever. It was not a bad out and back. Even the out and backs, you didn't just turn around and come immediately back on the course. You went around the block and you went down the other street. There was a block or two over for like a half mile. Things like that. It was really nice. You ran through the Greenway on the way back. That was pleasant. Enjoyed that. Coming in, you ran past the NASCAR Hall of Fame twice. You ran past a few museums at the beginning, I think at the end, but I was too tired at the end to really look around and see museums. You ran past the Panther Stadium twice, which is it's kind of they have a neatish stadium. Not as cool as Lucas Oil Stadium, but whatevs. They do have two Panthers out in front of their stadium, which is kind of nice. Seeing that, I just thought the artwork. It was nice seeing artwork. It kind of makes your day, to me at least, it makes your day a little bit better when you can see nice things. The finish line area. By the time I came across where the finish line should have been, the finish line was no longer there. Um, I was following the course map, and my watch had died around mile 24, which was really bad. Um, Demoralizing for me. That was a failure on my part. I just didn't have the watch. Trying to have the watch navigate and time, and it just normally that watch has a 30-hour battery from full, but I'd already worn it a few days, so I think it was like 70% when I left home. When I started the race, it was a little lower, and then tried to navigate the course and everything else. It takes that battery life and really, really draws it down. That's a 965. Um, I've ran the 965 and probably the Garmin 965 in about 15 races, and this is the first time it's ever died on me. The second time I've ever had a watch die on me, the other one was my Vivo Fit, I believe it's called. However, going back to what I always say, um, I still finished the distance. So I didn't get an official time, which is not fun, and I didn't get a Garmin time or Strava time. Um, However, I know that I ran the course, and honestly, I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing this for anybody else. So I, I, I mean, I stay true to myself, and I don't know if you don't believe me. I don't know if you don't believe I ran the course. I don't know. Just just quit listening to my show or something. I don't know. Um, but I did run the course, and it was a beautiful course, and I really enjoyed it. Would I run it again if I lived in the area? Yes. I don't think I'll travel down because it's about a 10 to 12 hour drive to come in here. I don't think I'll drive down for the race necessarily to do it again, but I would recommend the race. I would run the race again. Now that I'm just relaxing. I did get a shower already this time. I had a beer from Burial. There's a Burial Brewery in Charlotte. Went there, had a beer, had some macaroni and cheese. Macaroni and cheese is pretty decent. Beer is pretty awesome. Came back to the hotel, got all that salt and grime and everything off of me. So now I feel like $1,000,000 almost, except for like a really worn out $1,000,000. Like I feel like $1,000,000 has been through the dryer a few times, like stuck in a wallet or something. I don't know. But still enjoy it. Still want to wear that medal around my neck when I go out to dinner later on. But overall, it's a really good race, and I'm really glad I ran it, and I'm glad I came down here for it. So, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this little episode, a little short episode, whatever. Please like, subscribe, share. If you don't subscribe, your Garmin will run out of batteries. So enjoy that or whatever, or don't. I don't know. But I guess this one is really poignant because I did fall behind the sweeper, and I knew I did. I knew I was going to fall behind the sweeper even before I laced up my shoes. I knew I was going to be behind the sweeper. I almost couldn't eat breakfast this morning. I ate a McGriddle, hash browns, and some coffee. And I almost couldn't do that because I was so anxious about this race. However, I still did the course. I still finished the course. And that is because I ran the race that I'm in. And I remembered that Ford is a pace.